American air support now being pulled from the conflict in Libya. The Pentagon set to put all U.S. combat planes back in the hangar, hoping that NATO will pick up the slack. It's not the end of U.S. involvement in the offensive, but critics already questioning why the administration would scrap a key element of our strategy, and why now when Gaddafi seems to be making gains. Spider Marks, a retired Major General with the U.S. Army, joins us now. General, always good to see you.
Hi, Greg. Good morning.
Members of Congress, and you probably saw it yesterday at a hearing, called it odd, troubling, unnerving, this new policy of putting our combat planes in the hangar. John McCain, in his most facetious tone, said, "Your timing is exquisite." What do you think of this strategy?
Yeah, frankly, it doesn't make much sense. The United States all along has wanted NATO and our European allies, and certainly contributing Arab nations, to take the lead, and that's moving, and we're moving in that direction. Now, frankly, the U.S. doesn't have to be in the lead. There are sufficient capabilities with the French and with the U.K. to go after Gaddafi's forces. I think what's most significant right now is the rebel forces clearly have demonstrated an inability to maintain momentum. The only success that they've been able to achieve has been as a result of this close air support that they've received from the NATO forces. And so what has to happen now, I think, and I would suggest, is that the rebels need to trade space for time. They need to go hunker down in Benghazi. They need to regroup. They need to get their political act together. And that gives the international community an opportunity to figure out what they want to do with this rebel force, vet this rebel force, and also the NATO forces can continue to make gains against Gaddafi's army as they continue to progress. I think to live to fight another day is really the strategy right now.
These rebels are inexperienced, completely inexperienced. They're untrained. They have a lack of leadership. But most of all, they're poorly armed. Now, you heard Secretary Gates say we're not going to arm them. Hillary Clinton pretty much has said the same thing. Is that a mistake?
Well, they need to be armed. More importantly, they need to be trained. And again, what my suggestion is you can't do training when you're in the middle of a fight like this with that force. So go give yourself an opportunity to get some training if you want to re-engage this force at some point. In other words, the timetable has to change here. There isn't going to be an immediacy like what happened in Tunisia and like what happened in Egypt. The expectations need to change. If these rebels want to be successful and not be labeled the gang that couldn't shoot straight or a bunch of Barney Fifes, we really have to give them some suggestions and some opportunities to live to fight another day.
Secretary Gates again yesterday repeated the president's vow there will be no American troops on the ground. But there's some question about the CIA's role and whether they're on the ground and what they're doing. What are your thoughts?
Oh, the CIA is there. They are vetting the rebel forces as best they can, which means they're determining friend from foe, who is capable of being trusted, keeping the lines of communications open. They're doing a lot of searches on databases of known terrorists and those who are not in the databases. At least it gives the CIA, who does this magnificently, a sense of those that can be trusted. So there are boots on the ground, but there aren't military boots at this point, unless, of course, there might be some special ops folks.
You probably saw it. The Wall Street Journal editorial page has an op-ed today by John McCain and Joe Lieberman. And the title really says it all. In Libya, regime change should be the goal. You agree?
Well, it needs to be. Let's do a comparison here. In Iraq, the mission was to remove Saddam. We then walked into replace Saddam. That one word change is significant. Gaddafi needs to go. But he just doesn't need to disappear, and then we need to figure out what's next. Of course there needs to be a regime change, and we need to call it what it is.
Major General James Spider Marks, good to see you, sir. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Greg.